Add me back. Big bolt? No! Tiki's still back! No! This video idea came from another video by Monoxa, where he ranked every moon in a tier list for about a tenth of the video. They put up a lot of fancy scientific data with like weight and value and stuff. After smack talking experimentation, he ranked the next moon, Assurance, in a flabbergasting tier. S tier!
Assurance is without a doubt the best unpaid moon in the entire game. It's not even close.
I always saw Assurance as its 3-letter acronym. Then Monoxa did something else, even more flabbergasting worthy. He didn't put March in S tier at all. He ranked it below Assurance. I just felt betrayed. My favorite moon just got set on fire by a really solid argument. So in a slight fit of rage, I sent my friend or family, I don't really know who he is, but I sent Biddy this message. Assurance is better than March. He responds with, opinions exist, and that one is wrong. And his response completely encapsulates my opinion. Yes, March is better than Assurance, but still in my depression, I made a promise, and I will fulfill that promise. Assurance appears second in the in-game list of moons. It's like experimentation, but way more complicated and 68 times better. The minimum scrap that can spawn inside is a minimum of 13 pieces to a maximum of 16. Assurance has the same exact map size as experimentation with 1 times multiplier. This is the smallest size of a map you can get in this game. Therefore, the scrap is going to be in a higher density. Run! Run, run, no! He's not even trying anymore. Each enemy is given a power level from 1 to 3, and each moon has a max power level it can have. The amount of enemies that have currently spawned gets their power level added to the total power level present. Once the power level has reached the moon's max power level, no more enemies can spawn. So basically, the lower the moon's power level, the less enemies will spawn. And there's a separate power level for indoor and outdoor entities. Assurance has a max indoor power of 6. And now we move on to March, a much more foresty area. Its much younger brother, Val, is just a huge letdown of garbage loot and garbage enemy spawns. But March, it goes crazy. Instead of the average moon's 1 fire exit, March has 3 fire exits. And the amount of scrap indoors is the same amount you'll find on Assurance. With the bonus 2 entrances to cover more ground, it shouldn't be a question. March is better than Assurance. March has a map size multiplier of 2 times. Well, it also has twice the fire exits, which should make up for— oh my! 14 power level! Do you know how stupid that is? That is over double Assurance's level, and even higher than Ren's. Whatever, we're too good at the game to even care about the extra enemies. Oh, I'm dead! I'm dead. So when I said I was gonna test it, I meant I was gonna do a bunch of runs of each moon. A total of 20 runs, 10 for Assurance, 10 for March, and 5 of each moon were solo, and the other 5 were duo. There's a couple of rules that I set for each run. No weather condition, no tools, and every single sweat strategy, glitch, and exploit are allowed. Before I took off, I record a bunch of results from that run. These are the amount of scrap on ship, profit from that day, amount of enemies seen, and if I die. Monoxa does more information about the average weight and value of each piece of scrap he found, and I literally could not care to do that right now. This technique of fall off can also be used for a quicker way to get to main. You can get inside before the time even starts to tick down to midnight. March doesn't have any gnarly tricks, so good job, Assurance. And look at that, immediately a good room with literally nothing. This isn't even down to which moon you choose. This is just good old RNG. A lot of this game revolves around the fact that no layout is like the last. Like in this run, I could have found a big nut in this room, but the next run, it could have been a tattered metal sheet. Dang! Turrets are the bane of your existence, not mine, trust. They can't be killed, and yeah, that's the issue, they can't be killed. They deal 50 damage out of the player's 100 health, making it a lethal dose by his second hit. More turrets can spawn on March, but Assurance's more compact map means that you'll run into more here. However, you can get lucky with this. The way the game finds how many turrets to put on a map, it uses this line.
Actually, it's a probability curve.
At the start of each day, the game picks a random number from 0 to 1. This number, which is likely a decimal, will be plugged into whatever devious equation this line represents to find how many turrets there will be on that day. In my example of 0.5, this map will have 2 turrets. We see that it spikes as the line reaches closer to 1, which just means that if you're unlucky enough, you'll have turret hack. Each moon has a different curve for landmines, turrets, and even enemies, which I don't really care to cover right now. W. The air horn and clown horn have a much higher chance to spawn on March than on Assurance, and these two items are easily some of the best scrap in the game. They're worth a lot and weigh nothing. However, there are much more common scrap items that can still make a lot of money, but the biggest issue is weight. Weight in this game, it sucks. It makes you slower, your sprint lasts less, and I haven't found a way to convert it to kilograms. It's honestly the worst feature in the game. March's most common scrap items are axles, bolts, metal sheets, engines, and bottles. These are all over 16 pounds with mid as frick value, except for the metal sheet, which I'll talk about later. Assurance's most common in order are bolts, bottles, cookie pans, engines, and stop signs, which are all at least 16 pounds each, but the stop sign gets much more use. Now back to the tattered metal sheet. How rare is it on Assurance?
Around 1 in 29.
Now on March.
Over 1 in 9. This means that for every 9 pieces of scrap you come across, there's a pretty good chance that at least one of them will be a tattered metal sheet.
Why do I care? Well, the tattered metal sheet is the worst, most diabolical, pathetic pieces of crap in the game. 26 pounds! For what? 12 bucks? No matter what, its weight will be higher than its value, which it's probably not even worth picking up in the first place for those, 26 pounds weighing you down.
There is no battle pass as far as I know.
What? Okay. This is where the 3 fire exits begin to fall off. The fire exit can generate to any part in the facility where a door would go, so you're able to get crap like this. Wait, wait! If you get several entrances close to each other, that means that they are essentially one entrance, completely negating one of the extra entrances that March gives. Now we have to roam farther into the facility to find loot, getting lost in the double-sized labyrinth because we had bad luck with March. And, of course, this is the case with any moon, because each moon has at least 2 entrances to the facility. Fire exits can just spawn right next to main, sure, why not? Great. L.
Yo!
On Assurance, a hoarding bug has a 24.2% chance of spawning. What this means is that when an enemy spawns through a vent, it has roughly a 1 in 4 chance of being a hoarding bug. Each enemy has their own special chance for spawning for each moon. On Assurance, it's 24.2%, but on March, it's 11.8%. In the order from most common to least, Assurance's enemies are snare fleas, hoarding bugs, spiders, then there's a drop-off to the much less common hygridiers, thumpers, and brackens. The 3 most common enemies are very easily avoided and can be easily killed with a shovel or stop sign, which, again, is a very common piece of scrap on Assurance. For March, the enemies are thumpers, spiders, brackens, snare fleas, hoarding bugs, and then a drop off to hygridiers, spore lizards, and coil heads. That is a huge red flag. Coil heads are definitely one of the more annoying and lethal enemies in the game. If you don't look at them, well, it seems like they come out of butt-frick nowhere. Like, where did that thing just come from? They just look so soulless, man. However, they are quite uncommon on March, but it just takes around 3 runs to find one. And back to the common enemies of thumpers, spiders, and brackens. I'm sorry to break it to you, but the railing cheese has been patched for quite a while now. This makes them much more lethal, and therefore March a much more lethal moon. How did I miss?
Alright, hold on.
Alright, there you go. This is the biggest argument that March is, the best. It's all down to these little stupid idiot bees! We're basically able to evict the bees from home and sell their house for quite a bit of money. Well, sometimes. The price range of a beehive is from a pathetic $40 to a very nice $150. That, with the fact that several of them can spawn at the same time, can really prove to be a very, very good payout. However, beehives have a very, very large weakness and big issue. RNG. Sometimes you're able to just get a day where none of them spawn. And there's also this weird thing where they're all the same price on that same day. If you get a beehive that's barely worth a Snickers bar, then that means all the other beehives are also barely worth a Snickers bar. Now you have to rely on the scattered loot on the double-sized map that March has. Maybe you could get an air horn, but it's more common to get a tattered metal sheet. Speaking about beehives, Assurance also has a pretty decent chance of spawning beehives. There's just so much RNG involved with March, and just not as much with Assurance. Giants in this game are kinda stupid. If you see one, you're not screwed, but if it sees you, you're only kinda screwed. If they see you, you have to drop all your heavy items to try to run back to a facility entrance or inside the ship. And when it stops chasing you and you go back to get all the loot you just dropped, you realize that it's not there because baboon hawks just stole your crap. Assurance doesn't really have this problem because giants are a really low chance. Instead of giants, Assurance has worms, which are much easier to dodge than giants. It's just run forward a little bit. Now March also has worms, but it's much less common, and of course there are dogs. They're far more common on Assurance, but far more easy to avoid than giants, unless you have the clickiest keyboard in existence. Now when the nighttime enemy spawns is actually quite...
Now this section was supposed to be me talking about that thing I said I wasn't going to talk about. I said I wasn't going to talk about it because I literally can't explain it. How and when an entity spawns is wildly complicated and requires a lot of reading, analyzing. It would just stretch out this video way too long. All you need to know is that stuff will generally spawn a little bit earlier on March.
I heard breathing and I accidentally looked behind me.
You got the ghost girl?
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd have to explain this enemy, but here we are. The chance of a ghost girl spawning on Assurance is around 1 in 333, and that is rare as heck. It's also kind of weird that every free moon just has a small chance for a really bad enemy to spawn, like how the Jester also has that 0.3% on March, and Nutcrackers, which can spawn on every single moon except for Vow for some reason. Anyways, this was just a tragic run for Assurance. Awful worm handling and a very unfortunate spawn. Oh my gosh. Oh, there's the bracket. Oh. Just run. Just run. Just run. Just run. 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 That's...
You gotta be kidding me, bro.
When all the testing was done, I calculated the averages for each day, and I could finally say that March sucks. For solo runs, March just took the fattest L here. You could double that 155 profit and still not reach Assurance's average of 334. I'd find only half the amount of scrap on March than on Assurance, and it wasn't even close on enemies. I barely got any profit and saw a bunch of things that wanted to commit lethal all over me, and that's bad, man. I never actually died to an entity though, but I did die to a turret on Assurance, which really just caught me on my bad reaction time. Definitely still an L for Assurance though. The Assurance duo runs stay the same when it comes to profit and amount of loot. However, March really redeemed itself here. The amount of scrap finally surpassed Assurance's by 2 entire scrap. This is reflected with the slightly higher profit. However, the entities seen here were close, but and still definitely not in March's favor because, you know, giants and the deaths. The only reason that this was close was because of that really bad Ghost Girl spawn. I didn't mention this earlier, but the Ghost Girl is really the only thing in the game that really freaks Fridge out. That was really unlucky, man. So, Assurance is great for solo, and March is better with more people, right? Sort of. Averages are kind of misleading because making money revolves around RNG. This means that there's runs with the 0.3% chance Ghost Girl, and then there's other runs where there's no enemies with over $400 in profit. March just has more of this randomness where my worst runs came from March, but at the same time, my best runs also came from March. The only consistency with March runs is that there was just more enemies seen. Assurance's biggest issue isn't in the entities though, it's the turrets. You really need to have a strategy down for turrets, otherwise you get random crap where a teammate dies early in the run, basically making the rest of the run a solo run, which has the side effects of leaving earlier and grabbing less loot. All in all, in conclusion, whatever transition you can think of, Assurance is just more reliable and consistent. March is just more of a gamble where there are more chances for death but a chance for profit. I'm not trying to say that March is a bad moon, it's certainly better than other options on the list of free dumpster fires. I'm just saying it's a bit overrated but still has potential. Just treat these two moons as backups of each other. If one is stormy or eclipse, then just go to the other. If they're both stormy or eclipse, then good luck. But yeah, I agree with Monox's ranking now. There's much more lethality happening, but it still has a chance to have a lot of money. Unless you're going solo. Never go March on a solo run. Oh!
Let's go!
Yo! We're too good. We're too good at this game, bro.